What's up, Tech Twins? Ray here with Twinfolk Tech, and today I'm going to talk to you about something that's pretty obvious here: the OnePlus 10 Pro. So this is a device that has been talked about by a lot of people, and they usually don't have many good things to say. So we're going to talk about why I think that's bogus, and we're going to talk about the things that are awesome about this phone. So obviously, I do have a few gripes. My main gripe being that we only have a 128 gigabyte storage spec. I wish we could have gotten 256 gigabytes. My OnePlus 9 Pro was 12 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of storage. This is 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage. I digress. I just don't think that the 8 gigs of RAM is that big a deal. I mean, when you're looking at, if I can use my phone here, when you're looking at stuff like the RAM expansion, when you have that as an available option, I don't really see that big a deal. And so that really brings my main gripe to just the lack of a higher storage spec. Would have loved to see 256 gigs because I shoot everything in 4K 120, and I would have absolutely loved to have seen a higher storage option. Just because for me, I fill up my phones quickly, and I'm always having to offload data, offload footage and files and things of that nature. So I guess it's maybe not that big a deal for me as somebody who like actually has like external hard drives, cloud storage, and all that stuff, as it would be for just a normal average consumer. But anyway, the other gripe with this phone that a lot of people have is that there is no IP rating if you buy this straight from OnePlus. So OnePlus did kind of cheap out a little bit there and not giving us an IP rating. But if you purchase this from T-Mobile, if you get that variant of the device, then you will, I believe, get an IP68 dust and water resistance rating. But for me, I don't take my near $1,000 devices anywhere near water. I don't take them in the desert with me to the beach where they get, hit with water and sand. I just don't do that. So I don't know. I just think that if you're trying to do things with this device that these devices aren't meant to do, then that's when you'll run into problems. Same thing as if you bend this device ridiculously, or if you sit on this device, it may bend. These devices aren't meant to be bent and used and twisted and turned in all these sorts of ways. These are precious, expensive devices, so they need to be treated as such. But let me get off of my soapbox about that. Anyhow, I'm absolutely in awe of the cameras on this device. So you have a 48 megapixel main, 50 megapixel ultra wide, and an 8 megapixel telephoto. These cameras, I don't know what OnePlus has done with the Hasselblad collab that they've got going on, but these cameras this year are absolutely mind blowing. I want to say on my 9 Pro, the photos, they did look a little bit more true to life in terms of the colors. I see the saturation, or I feel like in my perception, the saturation is turned up, just it's bumped up just a hair this year in comparison to the 9 Pro of last year. But I feel like it's a little bit for the better. I can't really complain about it. It's not like oversaturated unicorn rainbow puke levels of saturation like with a Samsung. So I'm pretty happy with the saturation here. Also, the video, like I said, I record everything in 4K 120. So just the fact that the video footage can come out so clean, so clear, so fluid, and just incredible looking. I gotta say, I love shooting on this thing. It really feels like a cinematic experience. Like I was with my family over the Easter holiday weekend, and I am sort of the de facto family documentarian. And so I was responsible for kind of filming and documenting everything and taking pictures of the nieces and nephews and the grandkids and all that stuff. So of course I am following around all of these kids that are going on this crazy Easter egg hunt, and I'm shooting 4K 120 on this thing, and it looks like a freaking movie. So whatever OnePlus is up to with Hasselblad, boy, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So I want them to keep that up. Another huge thing about this phone that I think is really awesome is going to be the battery life. So let's see where we're sitting right now. So I'm at 3.5 hours right now. There's about 44% left. And I've been off the charger for about 12 hours at this point. So not my best day of battery life, but I will say I've gotten some pretty consistently stellar battery life on this device. So let's just pull up, took a couple screenshots here. So my very first day of having the device, I was able to eke out about 6 hours and 16 minutes worth of screen on time, at least up to 18%. When I took the screenshot, I didn't take anything afterward, but 18% left, getting 6 hours and 16 minutes of screen on time, 18 and a half hours off of the charger, because screen on time is not the end all be all of battery life. How long you can be off the charger, that is what really counts. So let's see. So that day actually ended up getting about 7 hours and 4 minutes in screen on time altogether. So that is fantastic. So let's see. Next day, next day things went a little bit different. So I was getting 6 hours and 9 minutes of screen on time after being away from the charger for 20 hours and 53 minutes. I was left with 40%. So I want to know if I took a screenshot of how I ended up that day. And I did. Overall, was off the charger for 23 hours and 30 minutes and came in at 8 hours and 14 minutes with 15% left to spare before I had to put it on the charger. So that's incredible. That is incredible battery life that I have not seen the likes of since I initially got like my LG G8X. When I was cranking out, I think I was cranking out probably about 9, almost 10 hours of screen on time on that thing. Somehow, I'm not sure how I was cranking out that much battery life on that, but it was a beautiful experience. And I think that this phone is pretty darn close. So, I mean, hell, we're getting 8.5 hours of screen on time one day after being off the charger for 1 day and 9 minutes. So overall, I gotta say I'm more than impressed with the battery life on this device. I mean, another day got 6 hours and 6 minutes off the charger for a day exactly. That's kind of weird, but I was off the charger for a day exactly. Got 6 hours and 6 minutes of screen on time with 8% left to spare. So this phone's battery is no slouch, and most important of all, you get the charger in the freaking box for this phone. You paid flagship money, so they give you what should even be considered a flagship accessory. But at this point, chargers have left the package, just like the headphone socket has gone the way of the Dodo. Still got my Pixel 4a 5G here, so still got a headphone socket, and I also still have my LG G8X. So that's just a dedicated DAP at this point. But even still, headphone socket's gone, chargers are gone, but OnePlus still gives us the charger in the box, and not a slouchy charger at that. 65-watt Super VOOC charging, formerly Warp charging, but 65-watt Super VOOC charging is absolutely incredible. I believe I charged this up from 0 to 100 in about like 40 minutes, maybe like 39, 38 minutes, something like that. And meanwhile, I'm charging devices like the Pixel 6 or charging devices like the Galaxy S22 in like over an hour to go from 0 to 100. And in 2022, I find that to be a bit ridiculous. Or even my iPhone that I'm filming on takes over an hour to go from 0 to 70. And I just find it to be absolutely ridiculous that manufacturers are not only taking chargers out of the box, putting the screws to their customers and making them pay for the AC adapters, but they're also giving us very, very weak charging. I know Samsung recently came up with 45 watt, but it still takes over an hour to charge that device. So I don't know. I just think OnePlus has definitely got everyone else beat, at least here in the States, when it comes to actual fast charging being actually fast. So that's another huge, huge shout out to them for that. But again, when we're talking about battery life, I mean, I run this bad boy QHD, 120 hertz, full brightness, um, everything, always on display, always like I leave everything on max settings because I paid max settings money for this device. So I want to make sure I'm getting as much utility and as much eye candy out of this device as I can. 1440p display, I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. Let's take a trip over to YouTube real quick. Let's look at some 4K footage. Make sure I got this turned down. I don't want a copyright strike. And then there's all the other techies say, "Oh, look at the viewing angles," because people totally look at their phones like this. Oh, look at those viewing angles. No, let's just gaze upon this 1440p HDR gloriousness. And matter of fact, it has this feature. Let's see if I can get to it. It's got this feature for video enhancement, and it like brightens up the screen whenever you're playing HDR content. It's pretty great. So let's take a listen to these speakers too, because the speakers are Dolby tuned. Let's get a listen to these speakers here. Do, 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 do. Oh, I got lost on the way to you in an orange sky by the ocean. This guy's singing his heart out. Okay, let's get past it. Cover at the bottom, still pretty loud. Cover at the top. Of course, the song would kind of stop in. Anyway, I mean, you got the bottom firing speaker and then the earpiece speaker acting as your second speaker. I think it sounds pretty damn good. And I always have Dolby Atmos on, so I have like everything running full power. I always have a VPN on as well, so that's sucking battery as well. So it's just like I can't think of many reasons to not recommend the device. But who am I? I'm just some random guy on the internet. Of course, we're all just random people on the internet, and I'm telling you that I think this one is awesome. Not that you should actually go out and buy it if you cannot afford it, but I think this is worth bringing into the conversation of nice, dope flagships for 2022. I mean, I really think that this device goes up against the Pixel 6 Pro blow for blow in terms of like the base model Pixel 6 Pro because you've pretty much got the same spec. Um, Google, while they're gonna have like better post processing and they take probably the best portrait shots around, you're gonna have a less powerful SoC. This is gonna have a more powerful SoC, slightly weaker in the camera department, but they come in at the same price. This has gotten what 8 gigs of RAM, and the Pixel 6 Pro's got 12 gigs of RAM, but I mean, it's really negligible at that point. I mean, I can do the RAM plus mode on here, and I can top it out at 13 gigs of RAM if I really wanted to. So, like I said, I think this really goes blow for blow with that base model Pixel 6 Pro, and I dare anybody to challenge that. I really think it does. Especially as somebody who's had the Pixel 6 Pro, I traded the Pixel 6 Pro for the standard 6 just because I feel like this is, I don't know, it just feels like a more fun device for me. I like the flat sides and the matte rails and everything. I don't know. I just think this is dope. But anyway, the Pixel 6 Pro, I think the Pixel 6 Pro, the OnePlus 10 Pro could trade blows easily, easily. Let's see. But speaking of the cameras, so you got a few different modes on here. You've got, of course, you got your portrait mode. You got your regular photo, zoomed in 3.3x, standard 1x, ultra wide. You got your video where we shoot in 4K. Well, I'm at 4K 60 right now, but I usually shoot everything in 4K 120. Never really touch 8K. Got your night mode. Then you got some more gimmicky stuff. I mean, you got the fisheye, and you got that 150-degree ultra wide. But then you got the one at 150-degree field of view, and then you got your fisheye kind of gimmicky thing here. But I think it's kind of cool. Got your dual video modes, which is pretty dope. Got your X pan. X pan gives you some really awesome shots. Looks like you shot it in on an old camera. I love that. Got your long exposure mode, time lapse, movie mode, which is pretty dope. I don't think this gets enough credit for how cool this is. And what else you got? Tilt shift. I don't really mess around with that, but of course you have your Hasselblad Pro mode. So I love how we get control over all of the little granular features here in the camera. Whereas with your Pixel 6 and Pixel 6 Pro, there's no Pro mode. So can you really be pro without a pro level of control of your device? Anyhow, yeah. Again, I think this really goes blow for blow with the Pixel 6 Pro. I really do. And I got this nice little D brand skin on here. This is like marble, I want to say, and I got a cover over the camera here. So I'm unfortunately covering up the Hasselblad logo, but still, look at it. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. I was not fortunate enough to get the forest green version. If I had the forest green version of this, I would have not have put a skin on here. I ended up with the volcanic black because the forest green was sold out. I ended up with the volcanic black, and I was just like, I've had a million black phones. Let me kind of brighten this up a little bit, spruce it up, and I did. But I can't decide which one I like more. Anyway, this is a OnePlus video. I keep bringing in the Pixel 6, but OnePlus 10 Pro is a solid recommendation for me. I mean, you got the cameras, you got the screen, you got the buttery smooth OnePlus oxygenOS experience. I mean, you cannot really complain there. A lot of people are whining that, um, you know, oxygenOS is becoming more like Color OS. But at the end of the day, OnePlus and Oppo, their OSs share the same code base, so it is what it is. I don't see anything wrong with this. This is still light and breezy and just really nice. And besides, this feature is cool. I don't care who you are. That feature is cool. If I want to just like bring everything down to me and make it easier to reach, that's dope. That's dope. So whatever. People can complain, people can hate, but overall, OnePlus, you've done the damn thing. So this gets a solid recommendation for me. And yeah, if you have a OnePlus 7 or a OnePlus 8, or you just want a non-Samsung Android in the US that is pretty awesome. That's not a Google phone either. And you don't maybe want to try to look for other alternatives like Sony or things like that. This is a really solid competitor. Okay, this gets a solid recommendation for me. If you have a 9 Pro, I would say you're all right. I would say you might want to wait until probably the and maybe the 10 Ultra if that's a thing. You might want to wait till that comes out, or maybe wait until the OnePlus 11 if you already have the 9, because I feel like performance is similar enough, and you have that extra spec of the higher RAM and storage option with the 9. I think you might be in better luck with keeping the 9 instead of trading up for this, because you are kind of sacrificing some RAM, you're sacrificing some storage. But I mean, overall, this is still a banger of a device. So I'll also say that you know you're getting the OnePlus LDHC codec. So let's demonstrate this. So I mean, with this, you're getting the LDHC audio codec, which is basically like OnePlus's answer to LDAC. So you're getting that high quality Bluetooth audio. Since we don't have the headphone jacks anymore, we gotta still treat our ears. And with the OnePlus Buds, you're getting that LDHC codec, and I think it sounds fantastic. It really does rival Sony's LDAC Bluetooth codec. But in still speaking of audio, the USB-C audio on here is outstanding. So that's one problem that I've really had continually with the Pixel 6, is the USB-C audio. It gives you some horrible, horrible screeching noise when you try to plug up like a dongle DAC. Like I've tried to plug up my AudioQuest Dragonfly to my Pixel, both the 6 Pro and the 6, and it's just horrible. There's just something wrong with the USB-C audio on the Pixel 6 series. But as far as the OnePlus 10 Pro goes, I've had flawless performance with the USB audio. So whenever I'm doing things like messing around on USB Audio Player Pro, I get extremely good playback. So I can plug up my AudioQuest Dragonfly, I can plug up my Helm Bolt, and I can get MQA playback. I can get the high res playback, you know, true to form. I don't have to compromise on this just listening to Bluetooth audio in here. So I think this phone is really spoiling me on the audio front. I would say even though it doesn't have a headphone socket, I will forgive it because it has awesome, awesome USB-C audio and amazing Bluetooth audio. But again, OnePlus 10 Pro gets a solid recommendation from me. If you've got a OnePlus 9 Pro, you might want to skip. If you got a OnePlus 9, this might not be such a bad upgrade. Or maybe a lateral move. And if you've got an older OnePlus, or if you just want to maybe test out an Android that is not Samsung or not Google, this would be the one to test. So again, stay good to each other, stay good to your tech, keep twinning. Peace.